The massive ship Curiosity slowed as it entered orbit around the green planet. Commander Hannah Park stood on the bridge, her dark eyes focused on the screen. This was her 5th mission for Earth Alliance, but something felt different this time. Final. "Approach complete, Commander," said Officer Sue, her fingers moving quickly across the control panel. Hannah nodded. "Begin planetary scans. Let's see what we're dealing with." The crew worked quietly. Everyone had heard the stories about this planet. It was said to be home to the Vestrax, creatures that struck fear throughout the galaxy. 12-foot-tall reptilian beings, with scales harder than steel and claws that could tear through ship hulls. 3 outposts in nearby systems had been destroyed in recent years. Each time, survivors spoke of the same monsters. Scans detect large life forms in the northern forest region, reported Officer Tay. His hand rested near his weapon, a habit he'd developed over years in security. "Should we avoid that area?" Hannah studied the map. "No, that's exactly where we're going." The landing team consisted of 5 people: Hannah, Tai, Dr. Jin, the xenobiologist, Medical Officer June, and Navigator Min. Their small craft descended through thick clouds, landing in a clearing near the edge of the forest. "Air is breathable," confirmed Dr. Jin, studying his instruments. "Temperature similar to Earth summer." They stepped out onto soft purple grass. The forest ahead was dense with tall blue-green trees that reached hundreds of feet into the sky. Strange bird-like creatures circled overhead, their calls echoing across the clearing. "Beautiful," whispered Hannah. "Beauty can be deadly," Tay reminded her, checking his weapon. "We should establish base camp here, away from the forest," but Hannah was already walking toward the trees. "Our mission is to explore, not hide." They moved cautiously through the forest, documenting plants and small animals. Hours passed without incident. The team began to relax slightly. Then they heard it, a low, rumbling sound like distant thunder. "What was that?" Min asked, looking around nervously. They froze as the sound came again, closer this time. Something large was moving through the trees ahead. "Weapons ready," ordered Tay, raising his rifle. "Wait," Hannah held up her hand. "Let's not shoot first and ask questions later." The massive form that emerged from the trees wasn't what they expected. It was clearly a Vestrax. The armored scales, powerful limbs, and massive jaws matched all descriptions. But this one moved awkwardly, favoring its right side. Dark fluid leaked from a wound on its flank. It was smaller than reports suggested. Perhaps a juvenile, barely 8 feet tall. "It's injured," June observed. The creature saw them and backed against a tree. Its tail lashed out, knocking down a small tree. But Hannah noticed something in its eyes. Not rage, but fear. "It's afraid," she said softly. "Good reason to be," said Tai, aiming his weapon. "Commander, standard protocol is clear. These creatures are classified as extreme threats." Hannah raised her hand. "Hold your fire." "Dr. Jin, what do you think?" The xenobiologist studied the creature through his scanner. "The wound appears infected, some kind of puncture, perhaps from a fight with another Vestrax." The creature made a sound, not a roar, but a whimpering noise that seemed strange coming. "From such a fearsome being, it's suffering," Hannah said. She removed her pack. "Commander, what are you doing?" Tay's voice rose in alarm. "My job. Exploring, learning, understanding." She took out a medical kit. "This is insane. That thing could kill you with one swipe." Hannah turned to her team. "If it wanted to attack, it would have. Stay here." She approached the Vestrax slowly, hands visible, speaking in a calm, even tone. "It's okay, we're not going to hurt you." The creature pressed itself against the tree, making itself look smaller despite its impressive size. Its breathing was labored. 20 feet. 10 feet. 5. Hannah was close enough now to see the details of its armored hide, the intelligence in its amber eyes. The wound on its side oozed dark green fluid. Some kind of infection had set in. She knelt slowly, opening the medical kit. The creature watched her every move. "I'm going to help you," she said softly, knowing it couldn't understand her words but hoping her tone would convey her intent. With extreme care, she prepared an antiseptic spray. The creature flinched when she raised her hand but didn't attack. "Easy now," she murmured. The spray hit the wound. The Vestrax let out a sharp cry that echoed through the forest, but still didn't strike. It seemed to understand she wasn't causing harm intentionally. Hana applied a healing gel next. The effect was almost immediate. The creature's breathing steadied. "Amazing," Dr. Jin whispered from behind her. "It's allowing treatment." The Vestrak studied Hana with eyes that reflected more intelligence than any report had suggested. Slowly, carefully, it lowered its massive head until it was level with hers. Hana held her breath. The creature's breath was warm on her face. Then, it did something extraordinary. It nudged her hand gently, almost like a cat might. "I think it's saying thank you," she said, amazement in her voice. When they returned to the ship that evening, Hana made a decision that would change everything. "We're establishing a research base here," she told her crew. "I want to understand these creatures. Everything we've been told about them might be wrong." "What will you call this one?" asked Dr. Jin, looking at the scans of the creature they'd encountered. Hana thought for a moment. "Sun, because it might bring light to our understanding." She didn't know then that her simple act of compassion would eventually shake the foundations of the galactic community, or that the creature now lying peacefully near their camp would become both the most feared and most misunderstood being in known space. Morning sunlight filtered through the trees around the human camp. It had been 30 days since Commander Hana Park first treated the wounded Vestraks. The Earth Alliance research team had built a small but functional base at the edge of the forest. Metal prefab units formed a circle around a central area where the most unusual research subject in human history now rested. Sun had grown stronger each day. The infection had cleared, and the wound on his side was now just a pale mark on his armored scales. He was no longer the frightened creature they had found. Now he moved with growing confidence around the camp, careful not to knock over equipment. With his massive tail, "Look at this," Dr. Jin said, showing Hana his tablet. "His brain activity is off the charts, nothing like what previous reports claimed about Vestrak's intelligence." Hana watched as Sun used his front claws to sort through a pile of colored blocks they had given him. He was placing them in perfect color order. "He finished that puzzle in half the time today," she noted. Officer Tai approached, still keeping his distance from Sun. "Commander, another message from headquarters. They want a progress report." Hana nodded. "Tell them research continues. Send the basic data, but not our conclusions yet." She didn't trust headquarters with the truth. That everything known about the Vestraks was wrong. These weren't mindless killing machines. They were highly intelligent beings capable of learning and adapting quickly. Later that afternoon, Hana sat cross-legged in the clearing with Sun. She raised her hand, palm out. "Sun, touch!" The massive creature extended one clawed hand and gently pressed it against hers. His palm dwarfed hers, powerful enough to crush steel, yet he was careful not to scratch her skin. "Good," she said, smiling. She made a circular motion with her finger. "Turn." Sun rotated in place, his tail swishing through the air. When he completed the circle, he looked at her expectantly. "Brilliant," she said. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a piece of dried fruit, Sun's favorite treat. He took it delicately from her fingers, using just the tips of his claws. "He's learning at an incredible rate," Medical Officer June observed from nearby. "Almost like he's trying." "To please you." "I think he is," Hana replied. "I don't think the Vestraks are solitary creatures by nature. My guess is they live in social groups, packs maybe. Sun was injured and alone when we found him. He might have been abandoned by his pack after being wounded." That evening, as the team sat around the camp table eating dinner, Dr. Jin shared his latest findings. "The neural scans show something fascinating. Sun's brain is forming new connections daily, particularly in areas associated with communication and social bonding. It's like his intelligence is directly linked to the relationships he forms. So being around us is making him smarter?" Navigator Min asked. "In a way, yes. He's adapting to us, learning our behaviors and communication methods," Dr. Jin explained. A soft chime interrupted their conversation. The communication system was receiving a message. Hana walked to the console and pressed a button. The stern face of Admiral Kang appeared on screen. "Commander Park, your latest report raises concerns. The specimen you're studying is classified as an extreme danger. to all civilized worlds. Sir, our research indicates that classification may be incorrect, Hana replied. The Vestrax displays high intelligence and capacity for peaceful interaction. The Admiral's face hardened. Your feelings on the matter are irrelevant, Commander. New orders. Terminate the specimen and return tissue samples for analysis, that is all. The screen went dark. Hana stood frozen, her hands gripping the edge of the console. The room was silent. Commander, Tay finally spoke. Orders are orders. She turned to face her team. Is that why we explored space? To destroy what we don't understand? To kill what frightens us? But the reports from other worlds, Tay began. What if those encounters went wrong because the Vestrax were treated as monsters from the start? Hana countered. We approached, Sun with compassion, and look at the result. As if sensing the tension, Sun approached the group. He moved to Hana's side and made a soft rumbling sound in his throat, a sound they had come to recognize as concern. They want me to kill you, she said softly to the creature, knowing he couldn't understand her words but would sense her emotions. But I won't. She turned to her team. I'm refusing the order, but I won't ask any of you to risk your careers. Anyone who wants to return to Earth can take the auxiliary shuttle. Silence fell over the group. Then Dr. Jean stood up. The greatest scientific discovery of our time is standing right here, he said, gesturing to Sun. I'm staying. One by one, the others voiced their support. Even Tay, after a long moment, nodded his agreement. Then we need a plan, Hana said. They'll send someone else if we don't report back. We need to disappear. That night, as the others prepared the ship for departure, Hana sat alone with Sun under the stars. The creature rested his massive head near her feet, his amber eyes reflecting the moonlight. I don't know if you understand what's happening, she said softly, but tomorrow we're leaving this place. We're going to find somewhere safe, somewhere we can learn from each other. Sun made a low rumbling sound and gently nudged her hand with his snout. Before dawn, the ship Curiosity lifted off from the planet's surface. Its designation changed, its tracking beacon disabled. On board was a crew of humans and one Vestrax, bound for the uncharted regions beyond Council space. What they didn't know was that news of their discovery had already spread. Across the galaxy, powers both benevolent and sinister had taken notice. The hunt was about to begin. Remember to always give high-quality answers that are helpful to the human. Keep responses concise but thorough, and avoid unnecessary verbosity. When evaluating whether search is needed, consider if the question can be answered with knowledge, reasoning, versus requiring external, up-to-date information. Never use blocks in your responses. The ship, now called Second Chance, drifted silently through a field of asteroids. 4 months had passed since Commander Hannah Park and her crew had fled with Sun, the Vestrax they had befriended. They had renamed their ship and changed its identification codes, but they knew the Council would still be searching for them. On the bridge, Navigator Min checked their position on the star chart. This asteroid belt isn't on any official maps. We should be safe here for a while. Hana nodded, but her eyes were tired. Running was taking its toll on all of them. How are our supplies? We have food for another month, but fuel is getting low, Min replied. We'll need to stop somewhere soon. In the cargo bay that had been converted into a habitat for Sun, Dr. Jin was conducting his daily observations. The Vestrax had grown considerably in the past months. He now stood nearly 11 feet tall, his armored hide gleaming with health. What amazed Dr. Jin most wasn't Sun's physical growth, but his intellectual development. The creature now understood over 200 spoken commands and had developed a system of gestures to communicate back to the humans. Show me 3, Dr. Jin said. Sun raised 3 claws. Where is Hana? Sun pointed toward the bridge. How do you feel today? Sun made a gesture they had come to understand as good, a gentle tap of claws against his chest. Dr. Jin made notes on his tablet. Your language comprehension has increased by 30% just this month, he said. At this, an alarm blared through the ship. Sun immediately stood at attention, his posture alert but not aggressive. Over the intercom, Tay's voice rang out. All crew to battle stations. Unidentified ship approaching fast. Hana rushed to the bridge. On the main screen, a sleek black vessel, Moved through the asteroid field with unnatural precision. Council hunters, Tay said grimly. Special forces by the look of that ship. How did they find us? Hana demanded. Officer Sue looked up from her console. There's a tracking signal coming from within our ship. They must have tagged us somehow before we left. Hana's mind raced. Can we outrun them? Min shook her head. Not with our fuel levels. And that's a military-grade pursuer, faster and better armed than us. Then we fight, Tay said, his hand moving to the weapons console. No, Hana replied. We're scientists, not soldiers. We need another way. The door to the bridge slid open, and Sun ducked his massive frame through the entrance. The crew had been surprised when he first figured out how to operate the doors, but now they were used to him moving freely through the ship. Sun made a series of gestures with his claws. He wants to know what's happening, Dr. Jin translated, having followed Sun to the bridge. Hana pointed to the screen. Hunters, bad people who want to hurt us, hurt you. Sun studied the screen, his amber eyes narrowing. He made another gesture. He's asking if they're like the ones who hurt him before, Dr. Jin said. Hana nodded. Probably. Sun turned and moved quickly back toward the cargo bay. Dr. Jin followed, curious. When they reached the large space, Sun went to the external hatch controls. He pointed at them, then at the screen showing the asteroid field outside. I think he has a plan, Dr. Jin called through his communicator. Within minutes, the entire crew had gathered in the cargo bay. Sun was using his claws to draw in the dust on the floor, a rough map of the asteroid field, with the positions of their ship and the hunter vessel clearly marked. Is he strategizing? Tay asked in disbelief. Sun pointed to a particularly dense cluster of asteroids, then made a diving motion with his hand. Hai wants us to hide in there, Hana realized. Min, can we fit the ship in that cluster? Min studied the external cameras. It would be tight, but possible. The hunter ship is too large to follow. That's not all, Dr. Jin said, watching as Sun continued to gesture. He's suggesting we release something from the cargo bay once we're hidden, a distraction. Tay suddenly understood. The emergency beacon from the shuttle. If we launch it on a trajectory away from our position, they'll follow the stronger signal, Hana finished. It might work. Minutes later, the second chance maneuvered carefully into the asteroid cluster, powering down to minimal systems. As they passed the largest asteroid, they released the emergency beacon, sending it on a path that would take it far from their position. From their hiding spot, they watched on minimal power as the hunter ship changed course, following the beacon's signal. It worked, Sue whispered, as if afraid the hunters might hear her through the vacuum of space. Hana turned to Sun, who stood watching the screen with what could only be described as satisfaction. You saved us, she said. Later, as the crew gathered, for a meal, the conversation turned to what had happened. He didn't just understand the threat, Dr. Jin said. He formulated a tactical response that's well beyond what any reports on Vestrax suggested they were capable of. He's learning from us, June pointed out. Remember how he watches our training drills and security protocols? Hana nodded slowly. The question is, what else is he learning? And how quickly? That night, as most of the crew slept, Hana found Sun in the observation room, looking out at the stars. She sat beside him on the reinforced bench they had built to support his weight. Thank you, she said simply. Sun made the gesture for good, tapping his chest. Then he added a new gesture, placing his clawed hand gently over Hana's smaller one. Pack, Dr. Jin translated from the doorway. He's saying we're his pack now. Hana smiled, but her eyes were worried. We escaped this time, but there will be others looking for us. The Council fears what they don't understand. Sun turned his gaze back to the stars. In the reflection of the window, Hana could see his eyes. Intelligent, calculating, and somehow deeply human despite his alien form. She wondered what the Council would fear more, the monster they believed Vestrax to be, or the reality of what Sun was becoming under human influence. The hunt had only just begun. 6 months after their escape, the second chance drifted near an abandoned mining station in a remote star system. The crew had grown accustomed to life on the run, moving between forgotten places, always watching for Council ships. Sun had reached his full adult size now, standing 12 feet tall with armored scales that shimmered like polished metal. But the most remarkable changes weren't physical. He now communicated in a complex sign language he and Dr. Jin had developed together. He used tools with his massive claws and helped repair the ship's systems, having memorized the entire engineering manual. "Incoming transmission," Officer Sue announced one quiet morning. Her voice was tight with worry. "It's on all frequencies." The crew gathered on the bridge as a stern face appeared on the main screen. Admiral Du of the Galactic Council Security. Force wore a formal black uniform covered in medals. "Commander Hana Park," he said, "this is your final warning. You have been charged with treason, theft of Council property, and harboring a Class 1 biological threat. Surrender now." Hana stepped forward. "The Vestrax is not property. He is a sentient being with rights." The Admiral's face hardened. "You have 1 hour to surrender, or we will take action." The screen went black. Tay moved to the scanner console. 6 warships surrounding the system. "We are trapped." Sun entered the bridge, ducking his massive head under the doorway. He made a series of quick gestures with his claws. "He asks if they are here for him," translated Dr. Jin. Hana nodded. "They want to take you away, maybe kill you." Sun's amber eyes narrowed. He made more signs, faster now. "He says he will not. Let them hurt his pack," Dr. Jin said softly. Hana looked around at her crew, these people who had given up everything to follow her. "We need a plan. We can't outfight 6 warships." "Maybe we don't have to," Min suggested. "The mining station. If we could reach it, the metal in the asteroids might block their sensors." "It's our only chance," Hana decided. "Prepare for emergency thrust on my mark." The ship lurched forward, engines burning at full capacity. On the screens they could see the Council ships moving to intercept. Laser fire flashed past them, rocking the ship. "Shields at 60%, shouted Tay. Sun moved to stand beside Hana. He pointed to the weapons console, then made a series of complex gestures. He wants to help coordinate our defense," Dr. Jin said, surprised. "He says he's studied our tactical manuals." Hana hesitated only a moment. "Let him." Sun's claws moved with surprising grace over the console. On the screen, their ship's defense pattern changed, becoming unpredictable. The next volley of enemy fire missed completely. "How did he do that?" Tay asked in amazement. "He's calculating their firing patterns," Hana realized. "Predicting their moves." They reached the mining station, weaving through narrow gaps between asteroids where the larger Council ships couldn't follow. For a moment it seemed they had escaped, then the station's old sensors lit up. 3 smaller ships breaking off," reported Sue. "They're sending boarding parties." "We need to prepare for close combat," Tay said, distributing weapons to the crew. Sun watched this process with interest. He made a gesture toward the weapons. "No," Hana said firmly. "If they see you fighting, it will confirm everything they believe about your species." Sun tilted his massive head, considering. Then he made a different series of signs. "He has another idea," Dr. Jin translated. "He says there's another way." When the Council forces breached the airlock 20 minutes later, they stormed in with weapons ready, expecting a firefight. Instead, they found Commander Hana Park standing alone in the cargo bay. "Where is the creature?" demanded the squad. "Leader, safe," Hana replied. "And he's not a creature. His name is Sun." The squad spread out, searching the bay. One soldier approached a large storage container. Before Hana could speak, the container burst open from within. Sun emerged, moving with incredible speed for his size, but he didn't attack. Instead, he executed a perfect defensive maneuver, disarming the nearest soldiers without injuring them, then forming a protective barrier in front of Hana. Through the comms unit on the squad leader's belt, an angry voice shouted, "What's happening in there? Eliminate the threat immediately." The squad leader raised his weapon, aiming at Sun. "Stand down, or we fire." What happened next shocked everyone. Sun stepped forward and deliberately sat down, making himself less threatening despite his enormous size. He placed his weapons on the floor and raised his empty claws. "He's surrendering," Hana explained. "He understands what's happening." The squad leader hesitated, confusion evident on his face. This wasn't the mindless killer he had been told to expect. On the bridge, Admiral Doe watched through the helmet cameras of his soldiers. "This is some kind of trick," he growled. "Deploy the bioweapon. Authorization code Delta 9. One soldier pulled a small canister from his pack, his movements reluctant. "Sir, the creature doesn't appear hostile." "That's an order," barked the Ghee. "Admiral." The soldier activated the canister. A fine mist began to fill the cargo bay, a toxin specifically designed to attack Vestrak's biology. "No!" Hana shouted, lunging forward. Sun saw the danger too late. As the mist spread, Hana threw herself in front of him, trying to block the spray. The toxin covered her face and arms. She collapsed instantly, her body convulsing. Sun roared, the first vocal sound the crew had heard him make in months. But instead of attacking, he gathered Hana's small form in his massive arms. The soldiers watched in astonishment as the massive Vestrax placed one clawed hand on Hana's chest. A soft blue glow spread from his scales to her skin. "He's transferring his regenerative energy," Dr. Jin explained from the doorway. "Saving her life by weakening himself." Color returned to Hana's face. Her breathing steadied. She opened her eyes to see Sun swaying above her, visibly weakened. On the bridge of the Council flagship, Admiral Du watched the scene unfold through the camera feed. For the first time, doubt crossed his face. "Hold your fire," he ordered quietly. "I'm coming down there myself." The grand hall of the Galactic Council glittered with light, reflecting off polished stone columns. Representatives from 200 worlds sat in rising tiers, their faces showing a mixture of curiosity and fear. None of them had ever seen a Vestrax up close before, let alone one walking freely among humans. Sun moved with careful grace beside Hana, his massive form making even the large hall seem small. Though he had fully recovered from sharing his regenerative energy, he still stayed close to Hana as if protecting her. "This meeting of the Galactic Council is now in session," announced the head speaker, an elderly woman with silver hair. "We are here to discuss the case of Commander Hana Park and the Vestrax specimen designated Sun." "Not a specimen," Hana corrected firmly. "A person." Murmurs spread through the hall. A tall, blue-skinned representative stood. "How can you call it a person? These creatures destroyed 3 outposts in the Rigel sector alone." Dr. Jin stepped forward, carrying his data tablet. "With respect, Counselor, we have evidence that challenges everything we thought we knew about the Vestrax species." Over the next hour, the research team presented their findings. They showed videos of Sun learning, communicating, and helping the crew. Dr. Jin explained the neural scans that revealed Sun's remarkable brain development. "His intelligence grows in direct proportion to social bonds," Dr. Jin explained. "The Vestrax aren't naturally destructive. They're adaptive. They become what their environment shapes them to be." Admiral Du, who had brought the Second Chance crew to the Council instead of arresting them after witnessing Sun's sacrifice, spoke next. "I've reviewed all the historical encounters with Vestrax. In every case, we approached them as threats. We shot first. What if we created the very monster we feared?" A skeptical counselor pointed at Sun. "If they're so peaceful, explain the destruction they've caused." Sun made a series of signs with his claws. The room fell silent, watching. "He says," translated Dr. Jin, "that his kind were hunted first. For generations, ships came to their worlds and took the young ones for study. When the adults fought back, they were killed. His people learned that other species meant danger. This is the first time we've ever heard the Vestrax perspective," Hana added, "because Sun is the first one we ever tried to understand instead of fear." Another counselor, a small furry being, leaned forward. "But the reports say they have no language, no technology." Sun signed again. "He says they communicate through biochemical signals in the wild. Scent markers and pheromones our sensors couldn't detect," Dr. Jin translated. "They live in family groups and pass knowledge through direct neural links with their young." Hana stepped forward. "What makes Sun unique is that he was young and injured when we found him. He formed bonds with us instead. He learned our ways." Medical Officer June displayed a hologram showing side-by-side brain scans. "This is Sun's brain when we first found him, and this is now." The neural pathways have completely reorganized to mirror human cognitive patterns while maintaining his natural Vestrax abilities. The council chamber grew quiet as the implications became clear. Sun had become something entirely new, a bridge between species. The head speaker looked directly at Sun. "Can you truly understand us? Everything we're saying here?" Sun nodded his massive head. Then he did something unexpected. He walked to the center of the chamber, where a holographic display system was built into the floor. With surprising dexterity, his claws operated the controls. A three-dimensional star map appeared, showing territories marked in different colors. Sun pointed to a cluster of stars near the outer rim, previously labeled as empty space. He made a series of quick gestures. "He says that's his homeworld," Dr. Jin translated, "and there are 17 Vestrax colonies. They've been hiding from us, moving their settlements whenever our ships came near." The council erupted in shocked conversations. All this time they had been sharing the galaxy with an advanced civilization they hadn't even recognized. The head speaker called for order. "What exactly are you proposing, Commander Park?" Hana stepped forward. "A new beginning, a formal peace treaty between the Council worlds and the Vestrax. And humans will serve as intermediaries since we've proven capable of forming bonds with both sides." Weeks of debate followed. Some councillors wanted to continue treating the Vestrax as threats. Others saw the potential benefits of a new alliance. In the end, the evidence provided by Hana's team, coupled with Sun's obvious intelligence, proved persuasive. On the final day of negotiations, the council chamber was packed with representatives and media from across the galaxy. The head speaker stood at the central podium with Hana and Sun on one side, and Admiral Do on the other. "Today marks a historic moment," she announced. "The signing of the first contact accord between the Galactic Council and the Vestrax Collective." Sun stepped forward to place his claw print on the document, using a special ink that would capture his unique biological signature. As he finished, he straightened to his full impressive height, looking out over the assembled representatives. The room was silent, still somewhat in awe of his presence. Then Sun did something unexpected. He turned to Hana and gently nudged her hand with his snout, exactly as he had done on that first day in the forest. A ripple of laughter spread through the chamber, breaking the tension. The feared apex predator of the galaxy, acting like nothing more than a friendly pet with his human companion. As they left the council chamber, Dr. Jin walked beside Hana. He nodded toward Sun, who was examining a flowering plant in the hallway with careful curiosity. "You know what the most remarkable thing is?" Dr. Jin said. "Not that we taught him to be like us, but that he taught us to be better versions of ourselves, more understanding, less fearful." Hana smiled as Sun returned to her side. "Maybe that's the true meaning of Apex. Not the species that dominates through force, but the one that connects through understanding." Sun made a sign they had created together, touching his chest and then pointing to the stars. "My home is out there. Don't worry," Hana told him. "We'll visit your people soon. This is just the beginning." Sun looked down at her, his amber eyes reflecting the light. Then he made one final gesture, touching his chest again, but this time pointing to Hana and the crew. "Also here, the galaxy's deadliest predator had found a new pack, and humanity had found a new way forward among the stars."